welcome everybody for our next book club session. Good to see we have a very Australia heavy presence today, which is nice. I guess that makes sense with the time that we're on. The basic introduction is we've all been here before. We know the format. So Tathiana has a bit of a program for us. We're going to be discussing 2 chapters today, and as per usual, we maintain our disbelief principle, right? Don't believe in anything, whatever anybody here shares. We're all trying to explore these issues and make our own conclusions based on our own experiences and our own understandings. And I think before we start, or as a way of starting perhaps, I did want to just open the possibility. I don't know, I know Grace, you were involved in the conversation we were having in our chat. I don't know, Maria and Leonardo's, whether you had any, or Fernandez, whether you guys sort of followed the conversations that we had largely around an article about a particular guy who had donated a lot of money, and the sort of issue around whether someone with that sort of charitable lifestyle had an intermissive course or not. But I just thought we'd open up with the possibility of, like, if anybody had any questions coming out of that chat or wanted to raise anything.
I don't have any comments regarding the article, but after reading the chapter and some other experiences in other field, if you may, I thought it would be really lovely for a book club each month to start with moving energies before we actually go into discussion. That was just kind of my idea. It would be lovely if we do it, even if it was for, a minute or 2, doing it together as a collective.
I think it's
Kim, what are the guidelines for the book club? Usually for courses, conscientiology courses, we advise students to work with their energies themselves, and usually before or after the sessions. But I don't know what you have done before in previous book clubs.
We haven't ever done energy work when I've been involved in the book club. Michiko, was that ever?
No, we haven't. Yeah, but same, Tathiana, we typically, encourage the students to work with your energies before and after.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, yeah, guys, just take advantage of the field as much as you can and work with your energies. And even today we are going to talk, one of the chapters actually is about the motivation, right, to work with your bioenergies and develop your self-defense and all that. So I really encourage everyone to work with their energies anytime, before, during, and after the sessions, right? So Kim, have you got any other messages before we start?
No, not at this point. I guess the only thing I'm kind of curious, maybe, and I don't know if that feeds into where we're going, but if because Grace, if there's anything you'd like to share about what prompted this idea, because you said different experiences and so on, just and how it relates to the book.
Well, it was part of the second chapter. I just thought collectively it would be nicely to do it together, but I didn't realize that there was a protocol of doing it before and after. So it's okay.
Yeah. All right. Oh, right now. We can do it right now.
Yes. Awesome. So everyone, good evening, good morning, and good afternoon, wherever you are. We are here for one book club, 2 more chapters. So today we are going deeper into bioenergies and also innate ideas, which is something I love to talk about and listen to you guys' experiences, of course. And before we start, I want to ask you about our intermission impossible. was possible, right? So from last class, I wanted to hear from you guys if you have any comments or ideas or experiences that you have in this last month related to innate ideas. I remember if you remember, we had this self lab that we created so you guys would experience and work on this theme of innate ideas for 30 minutes. So has anyone done that and have any comments? Yes, Kim?
I mean, I've done it. I can also make some comments, but I see how everybody else went.
I thought a lot about it, but I didn't sit for 30 minutes. I didn't find the 30 minutes. Amazingly.
And have you got any ideas or any reflections that you would like to share?
It was really while reading the book, while reading chapter 5, I found really some well, I have memories from my childhood, and it's a bit I don't know, it's sort of personal, of course, but it's yeah, there are lots of points here that are common to what I felt like. I knew myself already. So probably everyone knows themselves, but I knew that I didn't want to be a nasty person. I was on the other side, on the side of the good ones, and I would always try to help anyone that was in trouble or being bullied or these sort of things. So I, from a very early age, I knew that if there are two sides, I was from the side of the good. And I was not into fighting or anything. And if someone would try to fight with me, I wouldn't react. I would just be peaceful and sort of looking at the person and think like, what are you talking about? What is this all about? Forget about it. I don't buy that. So yes, from a very early age, I remember those traits in me, and like I love to be with older people and listen to them talking and all of that, and other kids not, but I wanted to be with the adults and listen to them. I was very interested, and when the conversations were about spirits or this sort of thing, then I had to be there, and I love those conversations. So those were things that I remembered. I didn't write it down, so I don't remember much more. I can't talk much more, but that's what I remember now. So it's very pleasant to read the book. Very pleasant. Yeah.
Yeah, this is an interesting chapter because we all as intermissivists have to sort of reconnect or download these ideas in order to plan and execute our existential program. So has anyone else had any interesting experiences to share?
I'll share a couple of things. I found it very good to actually make the time. I'm a little bit hit and miss with homework normally myself, but and I'd done like especially innate ideas, like that idea, that concept has been with me throughout. I read the first chapter quite early on after our last session, and then kind of thought about that. And for some reason, it's interesting. When I thought about it, it was usually around this idea of innate values, right? Things like things that came natural to me, like accepting life after death or those kinds of things, seriality, at different stages they came. But then when I re-looked at the book and looked at the quote of what innate ideas, how Valdo defines innate ideas, it was actually seen more like inspirations in your life, right, about your existential program and sort of life choices, making major decisions in your life. And so that was a different angle, which was also valuable to think about. But so actually making the time and sitting down for 30 minutes was really helpful, because it seemed to push me to get more deeper into things and to kind of see connections I hadn't seen before. And one of those that I really liked, I found really helpful. There's been certain things in my life where I had this really strong, there seemed to be all the synchronicities, and I had this really strong inspiration to take certain actions that I thought were about to transform the trajectory of my life. For example, a few years ago, I wanted to really change my career path, and I wanted to become a professional mediator. And I had a whole lot of inspiration about going to this particular mediation training, all kinds of synchronicities that identified that. And I was so confident that that would open up something new in my life. And then I took all the steps, followed all that, and then nothing came out of that professionally, right? And so I've thought about that every now and then. I come like, what was that about? And as I was doing this exercise, I got this strong sort of understanding that the purpose of all of that was in the moment. Like, I got a lot of benefit in that period of my life about having this perspective about changing something, and I got a lot of fulfillment out of the training and out of the sense of new possibility during a time in my life where I was feeling quite stuck, and I was going through a lot of other things at that stage. And so it was actually really helpful to do all that. And that may have been the benefit of it. That was the thing in its own right. It wasn't about getting somewhere else with it, right? So that was really nice to see that, and how there's probably quite a lot of things in life that are like that, valuable for themselves, not for some future thing. And each of that together helps me, like it then helps me to move in other ways towards my existential program. And there's another thing I'll share. I could share a bunch of things, but one other thing I'll share. The other thought that came up as I was writing is that we talk about innate ideas and inspirations and so on, but then I was thinking about something like I called it, or I just wrote it, innate struggles. Like, there are certain aspects in my life that have been there when I look at it, they've been there throughout my life, that are things that I've been wanting to overcome, right? Things that have been kind of hard for me, and that have been sort of weak traits, I suppose, right? Like you talk about in the terms of conscienciology. And they're also this is like the flip side in a way, that they've been, and it feels like part of my life purpose is to overcome those weak traits. So identifying some of those, and that was felt very valuable, that perspective.
Wow, that's really awesome. Really good reflection, Kim. Yeah, there's a lot to do, because when we think about innate ideas, it's not just an idea, right? It's not just something that you are thinking about. It's not just an idea. It has to do with our tendencies, right, in our lives, the inclination we have to do this or that in our decisions, our habits, simple things that we do every day that we think doesn't really change anything, but in the end it does, for better or worse, right? And all these little ways of thinking and acting that have to do with or paragenetics, right? Or holobiography, and or intermissive course as well. So sometimes, for example, when you talk about how you have this innate, how did you say again? What is the
innate struggles?
Innate struggles, right? So maybe you could have even planned that to this life as well. Because once you work these things out, this opens like a huge, you know, possibility in future lives for you just to, you know, speed up some things in your evolution that up to this stage you haven't been able to. So maybe it's a possibility, you know. But the good thing about thinking about our innate ideas is to have these kinds of associations, and we actually see that innate ideas are not to be just ideas. They are to be reflected in everything we do and how we do things, our values, our code of ethics or cosmoethics, the balance of, you know, everything we do, if it's positive or negative in our praxis. So I want to hear a little more about you guys' thoughts, and hopefully we'll have more interesting discussions on that as well. But anyone else wanted to share your ideas on that?
I was just gonna say, I procrastinated this month, so I didn't do my homework, but I did read the chapters and reflect on the questions. And I also connect with this innate ideas because I often reflect back to my childhood. And I think about, you know, how different I was, how different I perceived myself from my family members and my close friends from a very young age, and started this questioning mind. You know, my mind when I was very young was always questioning things and very curious. So and one of the things that I remember in a young age was always this thing about self-reflection and recycling certain things. Like I always had this need to, there's something that I need to, you know, do better, or I need to change about the way I think and the things that I do. And so this constant self-reflection, I remember always, and noticing the differences and questioning the differences that I had between myself and my family. So I thought that was interesting in the book. And yeah, so it was really good experience.
Yeah, it's really common. I hear this a lot by people who, you know, read the book or talk about of them being intermissivists. They feel as if they were born in the wrong family. Have you ever maybe felt like that?
And your family also notices it, which is really interesting. You know, my mom used to say, "Whose child are you?"
That's interesting. Yeah, so yeah, this happened to me as well, obviously, because I just felt I didn't belong in that family. Even though I had a great relationship with my parents, my father, my mother, my sister, brother, and all that. But, you know, something didn't really matching. It wasn't really matching. So sometimes this happens as well because, you know, like people sometimes are in a different moment in their evolution. It's a different vibe, you know, and you're just like, you have other plans, you have your praxis, and you just have to try to make it work with your family, because sometimes you are like really young and you have these ideas and people look at you and think like, what are you talking about? So maybe this happened to you guys as well. But very interesting, Michiko. Great to hear your experience, and welcome aboard, right? Anyone else, guys? Want to comment?
I might share something else that kind of still makes I have this feel of frustration or feeling a bit ridiculous. I know this is getting recorded, but since a young age, like 11, 12, I got this idea that I was to do something important that had nothing to do with money. It had to do with helping people. but it's not happening. And many years have passed, several decades have passed, unfortunately, and it's not happening. And I feel frustrated about it. Not that I feel depressed or anything, but where is that? When is that going to happen, or where is that, or what was that? And I felt different from the other people. It would be very rare to find someone that wanted to do something to help people, but how and what and where, I still don't know. And and it would be something big, but it's I just don't know where. And that can be a problem after the diploma, because I can't find the thing I was supposed to do. So.
Oh, Maria, do you practice Penta?
Yeah, I do. So, Penta is fantastic. There is a lot of helping happening there, and there is essentiality and of all sorts. But it's not only that. It would be something in the physical world that would have some sort of impact, and it's it. So time's passing. I didn't find it yet. So my family would call me a dreamer and things. What are you talking about? And but I don't know.
Yeah, this is really interesting that you shared, and thank you for sharing. I don't think this is embarrassing in any way. And yeah, but this, I think this is something that we all go through, like sometime in our lives, you know. If Kim gave an example of something that he felt he needed to do, and then he found out what he wanted to do, and was able to implement some changes. So maybe an idea that I had that you could start working on is making a list of what kinds of experience or skills you have that could make a contribution to people, to the world, to your community, to the people who are around you. Any kind of, you know, things that you have that could make a difference. It doesn't really matter if it's a small group or a big group. And once you make this list, you start thinking about it during your Penta. So work with the helpers and try to see how these skills and experiences could add value somewhere with some kind of group. And you do it like every day. This is super important, because if you have the feeling that you need to do something big and you don't know what it is, and time is passing, right? So it's something that you need to really think about it and give the time to try to find a way to make some changes or implement some ideas, because this would be you know, helping people. I think being able to practice Penta for a whole lifetime, a good quality Penta, is really a huge effort, and it's a great challenge for anyone's life. But if you think it's not enough, like in terms of you feel there's something else in another field that you feel you need to be doing, it's worth saving some time in your day to, you know, find ways of creating something that will benefit other people with the skills and experiences you have. Remember, we always start small with big accomplishments, but we have to start. And once we start, other layers of opportunities will happen, but we need to start, right? Otherwise, things are not going to happen. It's just like some ideas I had from what you were saying and from my experience as well, right? Does anyone want to make any comments about this, about what Maria has said, to help her think about this?
I just would like to add to what you said, Tathiana. From what I understand, and I've been reading about Penta, I'm not doing it myself because I feel like it's such a huge commitment, and it's got such a huge contribution that I'm personally quite surprised hearing that for Maria that's not significant. Yeah, I feel quite inspired, and I admire you, Maria, for doing that, and anybody who does that. It's a huge commitment, every day for 50 minutes for the rest of your life. And maybe on the other side, after this summer, you will look back and say, wow, seeing the actual impact of your work.
Yeah, I didn't say that is not significant. My day runs around Penta. It's the center of everything, but it's also that right now I'm not yet working, and I live sort of isolated, and that doesn't help. And I would like to be with more people, and because you have to be with people to evolve, right? And I think that there is something more in physical life, not interdimensionally, probably related to Penta also. I have the sensation that there was something else, not only Penta.
Yeah, there should be. Yeah.
It may be a ridiculous idea. It may be just a ridiculous idea, but it has always been with me that there was some other work, with that would involve many people. Maybe it's Penta. maybe it's Penta, but I'm not yet relaxed about it.
Yeah, it's worth reflecting on this for some time, and and make taking practical actions in order to make things happen. I guess this is the most important. Some practical activity that you can do to start, and once you start, synchronicities are going to happen. You're going to have ideas. You're going to feel the counter flow as well. So your Penta will be like more interesting. And that's, yeah. So the main thing is start. And then things are going to happen. Cool. All right, guys, let's go ahead. Yes. So what are we going to do now is we are going to talk a little about chapter 5, which is the experience of innate ideas. We actually have been discussing this since the beginning, right? But now we are going to do some breakout rooms, okay? And I want to show you one sentence. Let me share my screen with you. Okay, so the sentence is, good innate ideas are self-strong traits learned without a master. They come from the past, the paragenetics, or the holobiography of the consciousness. So this is a sentence I found in one of the treatises from Dr. Vieira, and they have to do with innate ideas. So what I want you guys to do is we are going to put you in breakout rooms, in pairs, probably because of the number of people. And you're going to discuss this, this sentence, okay? You're going to discuss what your thoughts about it. So why, how, is this right? Is this wrong? What, you know, what kinds of thoughts you have about this sentence? Okay? Any questions? And then after 10 minutes, we are going to open for discussion, everyone, okay?
Sounds, Leonardus, can I just check, because you don't have camera on, that you're still here?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I don't want to, just make sure that we're pairing people up that are all present. So if everybody's good, I'll create, yep, we'll.
Yeah. I don't know if you will be able to still look at the sentence. Kim, do you know if
I
there
think, yeah, I don't know. I don't think you people can see it. And I don't
Yeah,
know
so
if
maybe
it's
you'll take
either.
some notes and you can have the discussion in pairs. So good innate ideas are self-strong traits learned without a master. They come from the past, the paragenetics, or the holobiography of the consciousness.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, cool. 10 minutes, guys. Is everyone back?
Yes.
Yes. So, how was the discussion? What interesting ideas do you want to share?
I really was drawn towards that one term that says without a master, that it indicates that it's something that we have experienced ourselves and not learned or heard from someone, or so it's like an original experience, an original inspiration, if you may, based on, you know, on real life situations. So that kind of really struck me.
We were commenting on that as well, and kind of semi-joking that in a way we probably learned it from a master in some other lifetime, and then we've brought it with us to this one now. It's become innate, right? Yeah.
You know, like we always are looking for someone to tell us what to do, things. You know, like when you have a problem or an issue or something that you don't know what to do, you try to talk to someone who could give you some guidance on how to solve that issue. And when we think about this sentence, yeah, it's a problem because we cannot find the answer anywhere else but inside of ourselves, right? We are the ones who know and who have prepared this life to go through the things we go through. Obviously, other people could give us some, you know, some insights, share some experience or some ideas, but the decision is ours, because we are the ones who have experienced all that. It's in our paragenetics, as it is in the wording, right, in the sentence. And paragenetics has to do with our self-inheritance. And we are the ones who know about that, right? The accumulation of experiences and the tendencies we have, the values that we have built throughout our lives, intraphysical and extraphysical, lives, so all or throughout our evolution. And this is all like recorded in our paragenes, right? It's in our paragenes, it's nowhere else. So once we stop to look at ourselves and reflect on these and try to get these details that are expressed within ourselves, then we would be able to find some answers that we just can't find anywhere else. I don't know if this is making sense.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, Tachi. And we were talking, Kim and I were I don't know if this is exactly the same case, but Kim was talking about how, you know, while he felt like he had innate ideas, sorry, Kim, I'm sharing for you. Is that all right? Okay. While he was having these innate ideas, you know, there were still instances where we couldn't see that in practice. So we would still be, you know, for example, hanging out with people and doing things that were not necessarily at the time good for our evolution. But we also talked about at some point, I think that's when your innate ideas get triggered and you start questioning that and you start saying, well, you know, what am I doing here? Am I really supposed to be, you know, hanging out with these people, doing these things, you know, drinking at the bars or whatever? So I think that's when it's like your innate ideas are always there, but they're not always operating at that level, but they do come in at some point. And that's what makes it an innate idea, because it stops you at a point where you need to be going a different path, perhaps making different decisions. Not sure if that's related, but
yeah, it is. It is. And I don't remember. I don't know if you remember in this chapter, I talk about moral hangovers. Yeah. So sometimes we do something that we want to do it because it's probably fun, or it's gonna give us pleasure, or it's gonna feed our instincts. But deep inside, we know we are not supposed to do that, but we go and we do it. And then the next day, you you wake up and you feel that, you know, bitter taste in your mouth and the feeling that you shouldn't have done that. So where does this come from, right? Other people just do these kinds of stuff every day. They don't care. They are having their lives and it's all good. Why, to us, we can't just be normal people, right? Why can't we just do everything that everyone else is doing? It doesn't work like that, because of, you know, numbers and numbers of information and the baggage that we have from the Intermissive Course, the experiences we had in terms of cosmoethics and universalism and evolution, that is just like ingrained somewhere, and it reflects in our innate ideas and the things that we should and shouldn't be doing. So this is totally related, Michiko and Kim. You know, like, for example, there are some things in my life, especially when I was younger, that I really didn't have maturity to have discernment about it. But some other things, I just had it so clearly, and I could just, no one would change my mind, you know, these things. For example, since I was born, I would never be in any kind of religion, because I wasn't against it. But it was just something that I would never be part of. I was sure about that. When I have some situations in my life that were critical, and that people would tell me to go to some kind of religion. And I even tried, but it didn't work. It wouldn't work, you know. Another thing that was like really clear to me was I would never do anything to cut my lucidity, anything. So I never took drugs or alcohol or anything that would somehow made my lucidity low and my will, my decision making, you know, with discernment would cut that. And so I never accepted any kind of peer pressure, especially when I was like in my teens as a teenager, because this is something really natural, right, to everyone. So and I wasn't that super confident adolescent, but there were some things that I would just never accept, you know. And I'm sure you guys have this as well. You have examples from your you know, teenage years or your lives or at work or some family issues that you just don't accept the self-corruption of everyone else. And this has to do with our innate ideas. This has to do with the Intermissive Course. But I want to hear more from you guys. Okay. Looks like not, right? So let's go ahead. I'll give you guys now 7 minutes. And what you're going to do now is you probably have reflected about it, and hopefully the discussion has helped you. But in these 7 minutes, you guys are going to write your some innate ideas that you've had in one word. For example, if you can talk to yourself and give an example of something that happened in your life and that you made a decision about that based on some kind of feeling that you had, some conviction, some values. So all this situation has to do with one matter thought scene. So that's what I want you to think about. For example, cosmoethics or assistance or interassistance or universalism or self-evolution or anything, but just try to think about a situation. Don't try not to do it like this. Oh, I have universalism. So you write universalism and you try to find an example to fit in that. Let's do the opposite way. We try to think about situations that happen in our lives and that were relevant for some reason. That's why it's coming right in your memory. And what does that situation have to do in terms of your innate ideas? And what's the name of that thing? Did you get it? Yes? Okay. So I'm going to give you 7 minutes. And then when it's over, I'll let you know. Okay? Okay, if you are still making your notes, all good. But if you have finished and want to share your how was the exercise, the activity, if you want to talk about one of your innate ideas that you've identified, or an example, or just how the activity was for you, anything is great.
I'm not sure that I did the exercise correctly. I wasn't quite sure that I fully understood, but you were saying to focus on examples in which this innate idea manifests, right? Rather than universalism. But yeah, that's the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess universalism is quite a good one. I feel that's a real natural part in my life, and in a sense, probably, like, I don't know, it manifested itself in, like, I traveled around the world before I was 1 year old, traveling with my parents, obviously, on a boat, from Europe around Africa, and then to Australia, and then to the US, and then back to Germany. Had my first birthday in Australia, funnily enough. I guess it was a sign of things to come. And then later in life, because my birthday fell into the summer holidays, we were usually in different countries. So I remember as a kid kind of keeping tabs of all the countries I had my birthday in during the holidays. And I was always fascinated with, I don't know if anybody knows the Tintin cartoons, Tintin books. In the front of the Tintin book, it had all the lists of all the countries where it was published and the languages that it was published in. And I don't know why, but I studied that list often. I was really fascinated by learning about all these countries and looking them up on the map. Yeah, and then later on, I guess it translated into wanting to learn languages. And my mum had that aspect. Like when we went on holidays, she was always learning the local languages. So I have, memories of her sitting there trying to learn Finnish or whatever, Danish, or wherever we happen to be. Yeah, and then I guess now my work is in the multicultural sort of space. So it's just been a trait it's been an attribute that's manifested throughout my life.
So you said you were traveling on a boat with your family, Kim?
Yeah.
When you were like a baby?
Mm-hmm.
Was your family sailing around the world or something?
No, it was like a passenger ship that took people from, I think left England at that point. Went from England. I think the car was on the ferry. I think my parents were planning. They had this idea of moving to Australia, and then they didn't stay very long. But yeah, I don't know. We stopped in Senegal and South Africa, I think, on the way. Went around that way. I think it was back, this was obviously in the early 70s, and I think that was still a thing that people did. I don't know if you can even get those boats these days, unless it's like a cruise ship, right? But I don't think as it's a normal transport ship, that's even a thing anymore.
Wow. Yeah, so you were definitely born universalist. At least on this planet, right? At least like experiencing multiple Holothoscenes.
Yeah.
And that's interesting. Wow. Yeah, spot on. Anyone else want to share your innate ideas?
I can share.
Yeah.
I had universalism too, but not like him. I had a collection of pictures, images, just dolls and things from all around the world. And I was very happy collecting them. And it would show a male and a female with the typical clothes and some animals that from that country, some typical animals from the country, and the typical houses also. And this was from around the world, and I loved it. And then I got a globe with a light, and I was very interested in seeing which countries were the antipodes, which was Australia. And I was wondering, will I ever be able to go there? And yeah, from an early age, I got interested in knowing about foreign people, and when foreign people would visit, or family that lived abroad in the Americas or somewhere in Europe, I was always happy to talk with them and get to know as much as possible from about their lives there. So my grandparents on my father's side lived in Canada, and I loved when they visited and talked about life there. And later I was one of those people that had pen pals, people to whom we would write letters. There was no internet. Also from many countries around the world. So I've always been interested in things as far as possible from where I was born, and found it all very interesting. Another thing that I wrote was I don't know if interdimensionality can be considered a matter thought, but I was always interested in the idea of multidimensionality, so the possibility of other dimensions. What is there? Is it possible to communicate with those that aren't here? And also, to me, the idea of extraterrestrial consciousnesses was absolutely normal. Didn't scare me at all. Talking about spirits didn't scare me at all. It was normal since early age. And another thing that I could say was a sort of a principle of disbelief, because I was raised Catholic, but I was always, and I had to go to the activities in church and at school and all of that. But I was always questioning the priests, why? And they couldn't convince me. And I found it very amusing. The discussions were very, they would always end the same way. You have to believe to be happy. You have to have faith. Oh no, that doesn't work for me. Sorry. But with a great respect for them and everything. But there was a certain disbelief there. That's how I started to practice disbelief. And I think that's it.
Awesome. Very interesting. When you guys were working on this activity, I was obviously here reflecting on mine as well. And there are two things that I remembered that came like in my memory. One of them was existential program. So I always, since I was a kid, I felt I had some tasks that I had to do in my life, and that even I had no clarity about what it was or how it was, but I felt I had something to do that was out of the ordinary. This was one of the innate ideas I had. And the other one was related to being a child-free person. Since I was a kid, I knew I never would have babies. I would never get married either. I never wanted to get married. But I did want to develop a deep relationship with someone, a strong relationship with someone who would be that person to, help me, and I would help him be someone better. And this is the idea of evolutionary duo, right? So I always had this very clearly in my mind, and it was like a conviction. I had like boyfriends when I was a teenager, and I would always tell them that I would never get married, I would never have kids, and they would be like, she's crazy. And this was a real strong conviction that I had. So once I got to know conscientiology and some theories, when I learned about proaxis, I thought, that's it. When I learned about evolutionary dual, I was like, oh, okay, now I get it. I know what I was looking for. And the other one was existential inversion. So when I learned about that in one conscientiology class, it was so fascinating. I was so intrigued. It was the first time I had heard about something like that, and it was very new, and it wasn't very clear to me. So when it was like the lunch break, the end of the class, I came to the instructor and I asked him to talk about that again to me, because I wanted really to understand, to make sure I understood what that was. And once he explained to me, I was like, oh, that's it. Now I know why I had all these convictions since I was a kid. And it made so much sense to me at that point. So it was really interesting for me now, this activity, because it was very didactic, like all the ideas that I had and images of situations. And I remember that I was like, since I was little, I had these ideas in my mind and I wouldn't talk to anyone about it. But how about you guys? Does anyone else want to make any comments on the activity? Oh, good. That's, yeah.
Oh, sorry, Tachi. I was just going to say, yeah, I wanted to comment on the activity. I really enjoyed it. It was the first time I did something like that. And I found it, the interesting part was to try to figure out one word to kind of sum up your experiences, because you could think of a lot of examples and a lot of innate ideas that it could relate to, but to kind of put it together and summarize like the dominant methodzines that came up from those experiences, that was the hard part for me. And I came up with two, universalism and cosmoethics, but I just wanted to comment on the exercise, mostly that it was really a good one. Made me reflect in a different way.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. All right, guys, let's go ahead. We still have time sometimes, so let's make use of it. So now talking about chapter 6, self-motivation for energetic development. So in this chapter in this question of the intermissive test, Professor Valdo talks about the spontaneous self-motivation to research and execute assistential or beneficial parapsychic energetic practices. So maybe even this is one of the innate ideas that some of you guys had. Like Maria talked about parapsychism, interdimensions, and that this was not an issue to you. And maybe some of you guys also had this sensation that multidimensionality was a reality, that we are interacting energetically all the time, and that these interactions reflect on our energies. Maybe we didn't know how to name these things, but they were there. They were somewhere there. It was a reality for us, right? So that's exactly what Professor Valdo means in this question of the intermissive test. And I mentioned in this chapter, I have this, we talk about the vibrational state, and in the self-reflection questions, I talk about willpower, right? And I talk about thousanic intrusions from pathological extraphysical consciousnesses. And what is the level of your will to overcome these personal instabilities and energosomatic instabilities? So my question for you guys about this is, what practical actions do you take for self-de-intrusion? And this is something practical, as I'm saying here. What practical things, actions you take when you feel you are intruded? What do you do? What do you think? What is your first response to that when you feel you have a sensation or a signal that means an intrusion, an extraphysical intrusion, or that you are drained, or that you are in an environment that is not, it is not healthy? What do you do? What actions do you take to overcome that? Do you work with your energies? Do you do the vibrational state? Do you change the, use your energies, your presential strength to change the environment, or you just stay there and let things happen? How does it work for you? So we are going to do a 5-minute breakout room, so you can discuss this with someone else as well, and try to bring practical things, okay? What do you do? What is your first, like when you feel, I'm intruded, there is an extraphysical consciousness here with me. So I'm irritated, I'm angry, I'm thinking negative about something. So what is the action? What do you do? Okay? Is it, do you have any questions about it?
Can I just suggest that we make it 6 minutes, Tathiana, and everybody, if you guys can give each other 3 minutes, is that all right? I think
Yeah.
we can.
All right, guys. So how was it? Can you share with me? I'm curious to know what practical actions you do, because it might help me.
Don't buy that ice cream. That was the last bit of advice that Maya just gave me.
Buy an ice cream?
No, don't buy an ice cream.
Oh, don't. I was happy. I was like, that's a good one.
Yeah, why not? What's wrong with ice cream?
I love it.
Too much sugar is not good for you.
Yeah, unfortunately, but it's good. So good.
Yeah, I felt attracted for these ice creams that are just, they have no milk, just fruit, but they have a lot of sugar. It's 23 grams of sugar. When I looked at the package and I wanted, I was really into buying it, and I thought, oops, this is intrusion. And I thought, no. I thought, this is 23 grams of sugar in one little ice cream. We don't do that.
Crazy, but it's good. Any other tips? When I was here thinking as well about all this self-intrusion and how to master energies in order to assist, right? To help. And I thought about that is it trinomial, Kim? Yeah, the trinomial.
Trinomial, yeah.
Conscientology, which is the welcoming, guidance, and referral. I don't know if this is the right one, Kim. Have you heard of it?
Oh, I haven't heard of it. It sounds interesting.
Okay. Yeah, so welcoming, guidance, and referral. So what does this mean? When you have someone who needs assistance for any kind of reason, could be an intraphysical consciousness, an extraphysical consciousness, someone you know, someone you don't know, but they come to your they come to you for some reason. Depending on the level of evolution of this consciousness, you feel the aim to just repel them, right? Because it's negative, it's toxic sometimes. But in this trinomial, what Dr. Valdo Vieira discusses is that once you are going to assist someone, the first step is welcoming them into your psychosphere with your energies and not repel them. So the first step to assist someone is to welcome them into your psychosphere. Once this happens, then the second point happens, which is the guidance. You can talk to them, you can guide them on to, you know, to solve the situation they are looking at solving, or give them some ideas, or give them a feedback, or a clarification task, or any kind of assistance that will guide them in a mental somatic way, obviously, right? And then after this happens, you have the third step, which is referral. So you are going to set the direction for that person to have an outcome of that situation that they need to sort out, right? You just don't welcome them and tell them something and then you don't care anymore. There is, like, for the assistance, the interassistance to be positive as a whole, you follow these 3 steps. So in the end, you refer this person, this consciousness, to either someone, or to the helper, or to someone's penta, or to your own penta, or whatever, some kind of referral to give some direction to that assistance that is necessary. So this is the trinomial of interassistance. So welcoming, you welcome them into your psychosphere, guidance, and referral. So I was thinking about this while you were there. So guys, we have time. We have 3 minutes. Oh my goodness. Okay, so before we finish today, let's give you the intermission impossible, okay? Or possible. Let me share it with you. Okay, can you see that? Yes. So for our next meeting, we are reading chapter 7 and 8. 7 is self-pacifying parapsychism, and 8 is the existential program, which is really interesting because we've been sort of talking a little about this today. And you are going to read these 2 chapters and write any insight you have on reading these chapters, right? Anything that comes to your mind, memories, ideas. Sometimes you're going to go to bed and you have an extra physical experience that might not be even lucid extra physical projection, but it could be even a dream. But try to, you know, to think about these experiences as well and see if they have any relations to the themes of the chapters, okay? 3, real-life connections. As always, find real-life examples to relate to these chapters. When you do this exercise, the helpers will help you reconnect with your Intermissive Course. That's why we try to do these real-life connections, okay? And the last one is a lab as well. This one, you're going to have a 30-minute immersion on existential program and work with your energies, do a lot of vibrational state, exteriorize the energies to the room where you are at. Preferably, you're going to be by yourself. You can lie down or sit down in a comfortable chair. Work with your energies, exteriorize your energies to expand your psychosphere, and then you are going to reflect about your existential program. What has been done so far, what hasn't been done so far, but the main thing is to think about the main clauses of your proexis. What you believe, what you think are the main aspects of your existential program for this lifetime. Okay, so these are the tasks you have for this next 4 weeks, and we are going to meet again on the
11th November.
the 11th of the 11th. Okay.
And we'll have 2 sessions in November, 11th and the 25th. So we're going to wrap things up before.
Yes,
Christmas.
that's it. Okay. Any questions, guys? No? All right. Kim, have you got any final
Look,
messages?
the only thing very quickly, because we're right out of time. Most of you know, some of you might not know, I'm not sure. We're having a conference in Adelaide from the 18th to the 20th of October next year. So basically exactly a year from now, on para-reurbanization and serenology. And the registrations are now officially open. So there's a call out for papers if anybody would like to speak at this on either of those topics, para-reurbanization and serenology. And yeah, registrations are open. I'll put the links, I'll put the link and information into the book club group as well.
Awesome. Yes, I'll be there, and I hope to see you all there as well. I'm really excited about this event, and it's going to be a great opportunity for all of us to meet finally in person, like have an intermissivist catch up in real time, like touching people, which is going to be great. Not in the cyber dimension. So it's going to be awesome, guys. I strongly recommend that you submit a paper, submit anything from your experiences. You might find something related to these themes, and also be there, right? It's a chance for us to meet and have some time together, which is great. So we can have more, like, being more energized in our pro-axis, right? Okay, guys, thank you so much for your time today. And I hope you have a great next 4 weeks. And we'll see you on the 11th of November.
Okay, see you. Bye.
Thank you.
Buddy.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.